on, Wolfpack Nation? We are back in here, baby, for part 2 here of our Pack Collective conversation here with Tom Livolsi, Scott Wood, and Tim Mckay here. So if you haven't checked out part 1 yet, make sure to go check that out first. That is a must do. And also, to make sure, again, just as a reminder as well, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and follow us at Tuffy Talk now on Twitter and Instagram. But jumping right back in here. So, Tom, I wanted to kind of ask you, first of all, kind of fun question here, before we really roll into it here. But so were you the one that gave Drake the idea about saying, I'm going to do an announcement and scaring the crap out of most of the fans? Be like, what is the announcement that he's going to do? Like, he's not leaving, right? And then he does the whole, I'm committing to the Gopher app. And we're like, oh, thank God. Yeah. So was it your idea?
Yeah, man. So
it worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
Drake was the first athlete that we signed, and I knew, from meeting him, he's just a hustler. He's a hardworking guy, and everyone else, Peyton, Isaiah, Devin, they had all kind of already posted that they were coming back, and I guess everyone just kind of assumed that Drake was, and I was like, man, like these recruiting videos that you see of kids sitting at a table with a hat. I was like, man, what if? And Drake was like, yeah, man, we'll do that. So I said, how about the night before, put out a tweet that says, big announcement about my future tomorrow. And I'm not kidding. Within 30 seconds of him tweeting that, he texted me like, whoa, man, like I'm getting blown.
What have you done?
Heck yeah.
I was like, yeah, we probably should have told the coaches what we were doing first, but yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We made the video that we launched that. A lot of people were like, oh man, that's good stuff. And some people were like pissed, but we had good.
I mean,
I thought it was good. It was good marketing.
Well, and I mean, like, and especially with Thayer coming back, we were like, there's just almost no way that he's leaving already, right? There's no way. So it was just like, it seemed like one of those tweets of like preparing for like, yeah, I'm about to go somewhere or something like that. So just wanted to make sure, because that was a crazy moment for sure. I had to ask you about, but
yeah, y'all.
All the other players in the team are like, what is about to happen?
Yeah,
y'all should, like the original.
There, what's your brother doing?
The original video, like the script that we originally wrote would have.
Yeah,
I mean, it was like. It was way more dramatic, and I mean, it was just like,
oh god,
that could have been a lot more hard to tell.
Oh my god, that's great. So now that we got that out of the way, because I had to address that real quick. So one of the things that we have mentioned, and one of the biggest questions I have is, so really kind of in terms of talking more about the Pack Collective is so this isn't obviously supposed to be kind of competing against the Wolfpack Club per se, correct? Because I mean, obviously, Dende Pack Collective's looking for money. Wolfpack Club's looking for money from state fans. So, like, how do you kind of balance that? I mean, have you had conversations with the Wolfpack Club in terms of like how you guys can work together, almost of a sort?
Yeah, that's a great question, Leighton. So with that, we've obviously had conversations with Ben Broussard, and kind of trying to figure this all out, and he understands it. That we have to have it. We got to do it. We want everybody to know this isn't a this or that type of deal. You don't have to say, I got to do this, and we've had a conversation with Ben, and Ben told us that, since the rumblings have happened, he's had one person say, oh, I feel like I have to do either the collective or the Wolfpack Club, which, some people may say the collective is more my style. I got an impact on a student athlete, and I can do that. We understand that might happen. But one of the things we're doing as a group is trying to find other, revenue streams that can help that, the Wolfpack Club doesn't necessarily have a lot of. And, one of the things that me and Tom especially have always kind of agreed on is the former student athletes. There's a lot of former student athletes that have come through, the university. So trying to take advantage of it. And it may take a little bit of time, but one of the things as well is, if, we sign Tim Mckay, and Tim Mckay, we take good care of him, and the next day he signs a big contract in the NFL, Tim Mckay is going to be a lot more likely to give back because he's now experienced it. He saw the impact that it had on him. So that's one of the things that we're trying to look at. There's a few others as well. So it is kind of a tough question because it can probably get a little hairy at times, but very similar to what Tom said in part one, we are kind of hand in hand with the university in a lot of ways. So, because at the end of the day, we need the Wolfpack Club to be successful because we're going to need scholarships. We're going to need upgrade to facilities. We're going to need all that stuff. We need,
Right.
athletics to be able to thrive and the university understands as well as us, because this is a very new thing, but it's also a big time thing that it has a big impact on the recruiting.
Well, you're talking about. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the better that the collective does, it's only going to benefit the Wolfpack Club. The more successful we are, the more successful they're going to be. And this whole thing is, NC State historically. I said this earlier today. There is no such thing as a bandwagon State fan. There's about to be, and I cannot wait to see it. There's about to be a bunch of bandwagon fans, and you know what? I'm going to welcome them with open arms. But there's
That's a great quote. I like that.
bandwagon, and our reputation is that we fill the stands, we show up, we support each other inside, off the field, on the field, everything. And with this is an opportunity for people to put their money where their mouth is. There's already a significant amount of people that give their hard-earned Wolfpack Club. We're not trying to take $1 away from them, but there, to Scott's point, this is a completely different business model. We have to Tim's earlier point, we have to build something that's sustainable. We can't just raise a bunch of money, give it away, and then go back to the same people over and over. And that's why, in my opinion, it is so incredibly important to take care of the existing locker rooms right now across all sports, because some of these guys are going to be in the NFL, and I think, and Tim, you can answer this better than me, but I do think that every athlete that I've met is so incredibly grateful and so thankful, and they see us working really hard, not with nothing expected in return, but to give them the opportunity to focus on the task at hand. They see a bunch of people coming together working really hard to try to help them and help benefit them when they move on to whatever it is, the NFL or NBA, whatever, or just regular professional life. I think they're going to want to be a part of this too, for the networking component, but also like we're dealing with just a very special group of athletes here.
Yeah. Well, when you say that, and even going back to the first video we were interviewing you guys on, one thing I'm just getting the sense of how important this is, and honestly, I feel this just as an NC State fan being on campus, is you're talking about just a culture. Like, you want to have such a great culture with, across, and the Pack of Wolves collective, the Wolfpack Club, the individual sport program, the teams and the programs there. And then, you compare that to others, like obviously the other stories we've heard. We mentioned the Jordan Addison thing, or the Nigel Pack, the player from Kansas State who went to Miami just to get paid, and the whole Isaiah Wong thing. Can you talk about how, a little bit more about how critical that culture is to have healthy here? Because I think when you come to State, most people who are around State, they already get the vibe. You hear recruits even visit. They're like, how there's a family atmosphere. The culture's different. Can you talk a little about how that just draws you and how much more value there is there versus just, okay, I got paid and I'm good to go?
I can give let Tim chime in. I can tell you this. Most of my dealings have been on the football side, and one of arguably the most impressive thing for me on a personal note is Coach Dorn and his staff, and that culture, not just with us, but inside the program itself. With the transfer portal and with Icky going, there were needs and some transfer portal players that were interested in coming here to take that spot. And Coach Dorn cares so much about his existing locker room and the culture that they've built here that he said, look, I don't even want to talk to these people. If they're coming looking for, until my current players are taken care of, I'm not even having a conversation. Like, you guys don't even come to me asking about portal, transfer portal people. So that was that's just a reflection of just how much he cares and how much this cares for each other, and the culture off the field is just as strong. Sorry, Tim, you go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're fine. I will say to add on what Tom was saying, that Coach Dorn has emphasized in multiple team meetings that he wants to take care of us first. He's not really worried about the transfer portal. Since he's been here almost a decade, he's built up a great culture. He's trying to maintain that. And as you see with these big contracts coming in for like the alleged $8 million with Tennessee quarterback and the Jordan Addison stuff, that kind of can wedge division in the locker room, like destroy a culture. So I really like what Doran's doing and focusing on building community in the locker room and keeping that culture here.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking too, partly thinking about this whole NIL business side of things now. It's almost like if the teams and the universities or the programs for whatever school, if we don't get on, people don't hop on board right this, you're gonna get run over if you don't go ahead and get this stuff going now. I mean, you can already tell like this is going to be it's totally change the game. It's critical to have this, but you just talking about the culture and doing it right. You mentioned observing. Scott mentioned how there's even like Oklahoma State had something that y'all liked, watching successes of others and failures of others. I think that's really, really admirable, just as not as a question, but just as a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And one thing too, go ahead, Scott.
I was just gonna say, the funny thing about all this is the NIL is cool or whatever, and a great recruiting tool, whatever you want to call it. But now more than ever, your best recruiting tool is a Tim Mckay. It's a person that you've done a deal with, and now you have a conversation with a recruit that comes on campus, and he can talk highly about the Pack of Wolves and the type of things that he's done for him. So it is, in a roundabout way, kind of cool, because when we do these deals with a lot of these student athletes, the coaches, they don't really have to talk about the NIL. It's when they go out with, the guys, and they're like, hey, have y'all seen anything on this side of it? And he's like, dude, the Pack of Wolves are great. They've showed us a lot of stuff. They've introduced us to a lot of businessmen, and they've taken care of us. And that's what it's about. Because, yeah, it's great to see, $800,000 in front of you, but, are they going to pay it all? Like, what else is included in it? We've seen some deals out there that are loans. They're not even contracts. They're a loan that, when the person turns pro, they have to pay back the contract. So like, a lot of this doesn't make sense, because what happens if the kid gets hurt and now he has to pay back $60,000? That's not right. That's not right. So the nice part is it's just a bunch of people that understand that this, as much as we're going to try and run it like a business, it's all for the student athlete. Like we're not going to make a penny off of it. It's making sure that, one, they're compensated and they get all that we tell them that they're going to get, and then we can have that impact as well to send Tim Mckay off into the real world, and he's created a bunch of connections already.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
And I think that, it's brand new, the NIL, and the headline, the $1 million deals make headlines. But I think it's gonna come back down and flatten out at some point.
Yep.
And the collectives and groups that are set up to be sustainable, which sounds like you guys are setting this up like that, those will be the ones that really have the biggest impact.
And to that point, we've been talking inside and outside of this collective. We've been talking with a bunch of different platforms and apps and people that are trying to profit off of NIL, right? And a lot of those $1 million deals and even higher, they are pie in the sky. They're not real. It's marketing from some of these collectives saying, hey, we just paid this guy this much money. The reality is they don't have that money yet. They are writing checks that they don't have money for. And there are so many hooks into those deals that to Scott's point, some of these things, they want a piece of you after your collegiate career.
Yep.
Some of it's, performance-based. It's the marketing and the fluff that's out there right now with a lot of these deals is what's causing a lot of turmoil with some of the athletes. Like, well, hey, why is this guy getting this deal? 99.9 deals aren't even real. So we'll see what happens here soon. But I think it should flatten out.
Well, I'm also curious too, because we've been talking and seemingly in terms. It seems people think NIL, people think football, people think basketball. They'll maybe whatever. But basically, those are the two sports people think of right now. But we're talking like you guys are wanting to be able to support all sports. And I think fans, the common fan, Joe down the street doesn't get that. And can you talk about that? How you want to be able to support teams like tennis, women's tennis are killing it right now. Nobody really is paying attention hardly, or swimming. I mean, people kind of get wrestling. Can you guys talk about that?
Well, I'll tell you, the crazy part is yeah, the football and basketball team get a lot of attention, but I've had multiple conversations with the women's cross country coach, and there's some women track and field and cross country runners that have incredible followings. That's very marketable. That's a brand. There's some track and field athletes that have 80,000 and 60,000 followers. That is a brand that they have created. So, yeah, the football and basketball are going to get the attention, but again, there's a lot of other athletes out there that are very marketable, that can do a bunch of NIL stuff and be productive. And over time, we're going to find that out. A lot of it may be hidden because it's, call it non-revenue or Olympic sport that gets overlooked. But we want to find those people and we want to help them. Obviously, not just from that, compensation side of it, but, connect them with the right people so they can continue to build their brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like a lot of it goes back to as well, one of the things I feel like that, young adults heading, out of college, after having their first job and all that, one of the things they always laugh about is, man, why didn't somebody teach me how to do taxes, when I was in high school? Why didn't somebody, teach me about, some of the basic stuff that you don't learn about until you actually are an adult? And so I think one of the beautiful things is, you always hear the stat, and I don't know the number per se, but a lot of professional football players, a lot of them after a couple of years after leaving the NFL go broke or lose a lot of their money, because they're used to a certain lifestyle. But, with the sport of football, it can all end just like that. And then you have to, learn how to set yourself up properly financially, personally, and all that jazz. And so, I mean, one of the things I love here is it seems like, again, not only are you supporting in terms of, from the financial side, sure, but also too, again, it's really creating that network. Just like you said, I mean, in terms of Tim, you can talk with Tom and, Tim, I mean, you can network with a bunch of different, people that can teach you lessons that, again, before NIL weren't allowed because it's not quantifiable and it's not something that can be used for all athletes. So that's one of the things I really want to push to everybody listening right now is, again, it's not just taking money and putting it in Tim Mckay's pocket. It's getting him ready to set himself up for the rest of his life, because at the end of the day, if Tim, I'm sure you I'd love to hear you say this or talk more about this once I get done here, but once you're, 30 or 40 years old, you could look back and say, NC State, it was a great time, a lot of amazing memories, hopefully an ACC championship as well. But also too, it prepared me, easily for the next, stage of my life, which is, is unmeasurable.
Oh yeah, it definitely goes back to education. I encourage athletes to be engaged in other communities, all the time around their sports, around their teammates, and always talk about their sport. But with NIL and these opportunities to connect with these donors, alumni, and fans, we can really learn about their businesses, learn about how to pay taxes, financial management, and really leave an impact on us. And then come back 10, 20, 30 years later and we do the same thing to the next student athlete and help them build their brand and set themselves up for success after college.
Yeah. And that's
so I got
and the one the unique part about this too that will probably get a little bit overlooked, and I always, whenever I'm hopping on something media, I try to get the point across is, we have it all set up. Like Ralston Turner, financial advisor, was a former student athlete. We have multiple, financial advisors within NC State University that can have the conversation with these kids. Because quite frankly, probably one of the most important things is if we present a contract to one of these kids, have a financial advisor there when they sign it. That's probably one of the first conversations they need to have. The next step is, CPAs. They're going to be 1099. We've got something set up within the collective that the taxes are already withheld, so they don't necessarily have to worry about it. But we need to also have the conversation on why. Why is this happening? When they get in the real world, It's not a surprise when Uncle Sam comes knocking on their door and say, "Hey, you got to pay taxes." So
He will come knocking.
he definitely will come knocking. So, it's these type of conversations that are going to get overlooked, because you're going to get these guys that are just going to say, "Hey, here's $200,000," and then that student athlete has to worry about it. And now all of a sudden they're in trouble, and a bunch of other stuff is in jeopardy because they just got used and just got handed money and nothing else was talked about. Tim McKay's one of the rare ones that understand it. He's going to be. We've already had the conversation. When I'm ready to step down, Tim's going to just step right in because he gets it. He's one of the rare ones.
There you go. Now, one of the
Man.
that really, really sticks out for me too is we've tried to do these workshops and things where we bring everybody together and introduce them to some business owners and whatnot. One of the things that I've taken away from this is surrounding these athletes with people that have their best intentions at hand, right? Knowing that there are people out there that are in this for the right reasons, because these guys are getting approached all the time now, especially on the football side of things. We're a very very hot team, and we have a lot of players on the team that a lot of people want to get in front of, and I think them being able to be surrounded by people that are consistent and have their best interests at hand is really helping them to decipher those outside people that are coming towards them, to know,
Right.
to kind of filter through that stuff.
Cool. So I got a couple closing questions today, because we're kind of getting near the end here of our time. But I guess in general, you don't have to be like a long-winded answer here, but where do you see this in a year from now? Like, what would you like to see the NIL collective we have for NC State be like this time next year? This is where we are.
Yeah, well, a lot of it's just going to depend on the ever-changing element of the NCAA and what they plan on, what they want to do and what they don't want to do. If they keep it like this, I just don't see a lot of these collectives right now being sustainable. These guys giving $2 million to a collective just ain't going to give $2 million every year. So a lot of it kind of does fall back into the NCAA hands. But again, we are looking at this for the future. We understand that there are immediate needs now. Basketball has some immediate needs over there, but we've got to build this thing so that it lasts. So when the Tim Mckay is on campus in 6 years, we're able to help Tim Mckay. So again, it's trying to build this and build it the right way. And again, a lot of the football and basketball, the women's basketball, the baseball, will probably get a lot of looks early on when we get this thing up and running. But again, the long-term vision of every single person that has been involved with this is every single student athlete. So we are trying to figure that out, and it's going to be a process. But we feel like we have the right people in the room. We have a great athletic department that will support us. We've got great coaches in the right positions right now, and they all have the same understanding. We're going to work with what we have, and we're going to have a positive impact and do it the right way.
Amen.
Awesome. And then my last question is, how can the fans now be able to go out and support you guys? What's the practical ways, avenues they can go and do that?
Yeah, so they can when this website comes up, packofwolvesnil.org. There's going to be a lot more information. There's going to be a Q&A section. There's going to be an email that you can get in contact with me and some info. So that's going to be probably give you a lot more information than what we're even throwing at you now.
Right.
So there's going to be a monthly subscription package where there's going to be certain levels. The first level may get inside content for interviews, a sticker. Second level, maybe t-shirt or a polo. You keep going up, you get a signed football by the whole football team, basketball team, women's basketball team, baseball, whatever it may be. So ultimately, and the one thing that we probably have not even really talked about is these athletes, when they get compensated for it, they have to do something in return. This is work. It's not just we're going to hand money and then turn them loose. This is work. Yeah. So, them doing merchandise, them signing an autograph, them hopping on a podcast like this today, kind of covers those areas. So that's going to be a big part of it. Obviously we've raised some initial capital with some boosters, but I'm really excited to watch, NC State fans really show who they are through these monthly subscriptions and getting them involved too. So we really look forward to it. There's a lot of events that we're trying to kind of plan. Obviously, we're we got to get this thing launched in the meantime. But there's a lot of good ideas that we really have behind a lot of this that we can get, just your everyday fans involved with these student athletes and do events to create a connection that we haven't been able to do because NIL hasn't been here.
Play a game
Amen.
of horse against Scott Wood for an opportunity
For $1 million.
$1 million.
I love it.
Listen, you put anybody
Out
out
of Scott's
Everybody's gonna
pocket.
lose.
raise
Everybody's
the
gonna lose.
stakes.
Not after what I saw yesterday.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, Scott, Tom, and Tim, thank you all so much again for jumping on.
Hey,
We're
guys, thank
definitely
you.
super excited about this. This is going to be awesome. And I think it's going to be, just like you said, hugely beneficial for everybody, for the sport, for the university, for the athletes, the fans, you name it. Just to kind of wrap things up again, you said the packofwolvesnil.org in terms of website, obviously Twitter page at packofwolvesnil. Any other places fans can follow or get information, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we've got an Instagram as well. Those are the main ones. I think we're going to start branching out. I think our first priority was getting the website up and running, which Monday the 9th, I'm hearing that should be the date. The main thing is, just guys like Tim. It's about the student athlete. And there's a lot of ways that we can do this. And, hop on that website, take a look at it. Again, any questions, you could reach out to Tom will take a question. Tim will take a question. Why it's important to Tim. So that's the nice thing about this is we all have a passion for it. We all love it. We're all NC State people, the greatest fans in the nation, and we're going to do this thing right, and we're going to do it well.
Amen to that. Amen. Well, thank you all so much again for tuning in. Just as a reminder, again, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and give us a follow. Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter and Instagram. But thank you all so much. And hey, as always, go Pack, y'all.
Go Pack, guys.
Go Pack.